10 days into a coup in Niger, and the country's ousted leader has urged the entire international community to help restore constitutional order. In an opinion piece in the Washington Post, President Mohamed Bazoum said he was writing as a hostage. He was detained by his own guards last week. The newly installed junta has already announced that they were withdrawing the ambassadors from France, the U.S., Nigeria, and Togo. For more, let's speak to our senior reporter, Norris, Trent. Hello to you, Catherine. This is obviously evolving very quickly day by day. There are more changes. The coup leaders denounced the military agreements with France. What does that mean in practice?
So it could be very significant indeed. Basically, the leaders of the coup in Niger has gone on the record basically ripping up 5 military deals with France, some of it which have been in place since the 1970s. And basically, that could mean that the French troops, 1,000 or up to 1,500, there's different figures around, may have to leave. Paris hasn't responded. The French government hasn't responded yet, so we're watching on that. But they were forced out of Mali and Burkina Faso in the region after coups there, when the coup leaders basically kicked French troops out. So France had pulled back to Niger, their last remaining military foothold in the region. They've been trying for more than a decade to fight against jihadist forces in the Sahel. So it could be very significant indeed. I mean, it's not sure how Paris is going to react to this. They've flown a lot of their civilians out, but the military is still there. And the French government does not recognise the coup leaders as the authorities. So you've got this situation where you've got the de facto leaders, the people who are calling the shots, with the president under house arrest, and then the de jure leader that France still considers, Mohamed Bazoum, to be the rightful leader. So will they listen to this request? I mean, it could provoke tensions if they don't get out. France, of course, facing accusations of neo-colonialism. This puts them in a very difficult position indeed, and would severely compromise, of course, their military efforts in the Sahel.
Bazoum's, the ousted leader, piece in the Washington Post sort of explained why the world should be paying attention to what's happening in Niger. Do you think what he said will have any impact?
It's a really astonishing open letter in the Washington Post. If people haven't read it, they should take a look. He writes this opinion piece, which has been translated from French, and he opens by saying, "I write this as a hostage, just one of hundreds of our citizens who've been illegally imprisoned by the coup leaders." And he defends his record, saying that the coup leaders had said they'd overthrown him because of a poor security and economic record, and he defends his record. And then at the end, a really, really interesting paragraph where he says, "In our hour of need, I call on the US government and the entire international community to help us restore our constitutional order." And that could be legally significant, because if it is, as appears, Mohamed Bazoum writing this, is that enough? A call from a man still considered in several quarters to be the legal president, calling for intervention. Could that then open the way for some international intervention? Now, Joe Biden himself has put out a statement the day before calling on Mohamed Bazoum and his family to be immediately released. And then you've had the ECOWAS regional bloc, this bloc of African countries, the Economic Community of West African States, who've put a deadline of Sunday for Bazoum to be restored to power. If not, they say they will take steps, including, if necessary, the use of military force. And you've had 4 countries so far coming forward saying they would commit troops to a military intervention. So Nigeria, the biggest power in the region, but also Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and Benin. They've got a delegation who's gone to Niger to try and meet with the coup leaders, but they weren't received by the coup leader himself. It's reported, just sent someone to meet them, talks at the airport. So time is really ticking down in this standoff. Both sides appearing to stand firm, trying to call each other's bluff, but there are real worries this could spiral into some really messy regional conflict there in West Africa, in this already very unstable zone.
All right, let's hope not. Catherine, thank you very much. Catherine Norris, Trent, France 24's senior reporter.